Time now for weather with Nebraska Extension Ag Climatologist and Market Journal Chief Meteorologist Al Dutcher. Al, we've made it to August. We've seen a few scattered showers across the state this week and our fair share of sunshine too. What's the latest forecast look like?
Well, Troy, you're absolutely correct. We have seen a variety of weather this last week. The warmest of the temperatures, of course, in western Nebraska, where they were closer to the periphery of the ridge that is built over the southern and central plains. And further east, we had a few days of very cloudy conditions, particularly in the midweek period, as those waves moving around the periphery of the ridge brought a lot of clouds into much of east central and northeast Nebraska. And of course, we did see some decent precipitation along the Missouri River, and of course, some precipitation that moved around the ridge that gave us some welcome moisture. Unfortunately, we do have some areas with the latest drought monitor that are showing some abnormally dry conditions, particularly to the north of Omaha and south of basically the Sioux City area, basically around that West Point area. And we have been hearing reports of scattered stress conditions now for the better part of the last 2 to 3 weeks. And a lot of it has to do with some of the younger and later planted crops that just don't have the root structure to pull up the moisture and compensate for the warmer temperatures. Now, as we go forward in time, one of the biggest concerns as we go into the month of August is, are we going to catch up on some of the cool conditions from May? And right now, the models are kind of all over the place in regards to temperatures, depending on who you look at or what you look at, anywhere from abnormally cool conditions to basically normal type temperatures. We are basically going to have to still see an above normal September for us to catch up of any amount for those that were especially late in terms of their planting, and that would be that last week of May through the first 2 weeks of June. So as we go to the upper air model, we still have that high pressure in place right over the central Rockies. Systems moving around the periphery of this ridge, bringing moisture into our region. We have high pressure at the surface to the east of us. That counterclockwise flow is allowing a little southeast winds at the surface. We've got a low pressure down in Texas that'll pull moisture up. So we are going to be dealing with yet another wave that'll be moving around the periphery of this ridge over the next 24 hours, targeting northeast and east central Nebraska as it moves down the Missouri River Valley. As we go into tomorrow, we still see high pressure aloft. We've got low pressure stacked up to our west. Once again, we'll start to see some moisture moving around there. It looks like the best opportunity for good precipitation tomorrow. We'll start out in the Black Hills, and then we'll try to see that sliding toward the southeast, particularly during the overnight hours into eastern Nebraska. Monday morning, we're looking at a low pressure system basically at the surface in northwestern Kansas, high pressure in southeastern or southwestern Missouri. That's going to allow moisture to feed around the periphery of that ridge, and once again we'll see another wave moving down through eastern Nebraska, bringing in scattered thunderstorm activity. On Tuesday, we see that ridge still pretty much in the same place with a northwest flow over eastern Nebraska, high pressure to our west, that we're still probably going to be looking at another wave moving into eastern Nebraska during the overnight hours and the morning hours, and that will progress to the east. And then we do see some signs of maybe potentially flattening out this ridge somewhat as the heat kind of pushes back toward the southwest. The thermal low basically sitting over the southern panhandle. There is a moisture feed, but it doesn't look like we've got a lot of convergence. So this looks like probably the best of the driest during this next few days in terms of precipitation. And then the ridge thinks it wants to build back into the eastern part of the state as we go into Thursday. Another low pressure tries to develop over the Texas panhandle, allow some moisture to build up. So once again, another wave will move around the periphery of this ridge and target eastern Nebraska with some scattered thunderstorm activity. And then we see this ridge starting to build toward the north and expanding the heat into the South Dakota and eastern Nebraska. Once again, low pressure sitting over southwestern Kansas will allow moisture to feed in the low-level jet northward. And once again, systems will move around the periphery of this ridge, so we do have another chance for scattered thunderstorm activity. As we go further in time, it looks like that ridge will hold through next weekend before we start to see signs of it breaking down somewhat, bringing a zonal flow. So the cool temperatures remain to our north and to our east. And in terms of precipitation, with that northwest flow, numerous waves moving into southeast, given above normal chances for heavy precipitation across eastern Nebraska and northwestern Nebraska. So Troy, it looks like scattered thunderstorm activity is in the cards. Temperatures are a little bit up and down over this next 7-day period.